Asked what hobbies he has, Billy Hicks says there's not much time for that outside of basketball and family. As for basketball, it's been time well spent for the Roanoke native, who played at Cave Spring High School and then at Roanoke College. As the 16-year head coach of the Knights at his alma mater, Cave Spring High School, Billy Hicks has won 3 state championships, played in a 4th state final, won 4 regional titles, and 6 district championships. His most famous player is J.J. Redick, who went on to fame at Duke and is now enjoying a solid NBA career with the Orlando Magic. Married with 4 children, including a son named Cager, basketball has always been about more than sports for Billy Hicks, also a classroom teacher who has used the hardwood courts to teach life lessons. Billy Hicks, welcome to the interview.
Thank you, Gene. Good to be here.
Before we get into the basketball details, coaching has always been about more than basketball to you. It's been about life lessons also, and just over the years, what have you tried to impart to your kids about basketball and its relationship to real life?
Well, I think that all team sports play such a vital role, especially today, and getting these kids ready to go out into the real world. You learn such great lessons. I got a great college education from Marrano College. I don't always use the stuff I learned in the classroom every day. I use the stuff I learned on the court and in the locker room every day of my life. And we just try to impart that on the kids that, it really does copy life. And if you can work hard and set goals and be a member of a team, a functioning member of a team, that you can be successful in life. And that's always, building those relationships with the kids has always been the most important thing to me in my coaching career.
And life has its ups and downs, and even at Cave Spring, we'll talk about JJ later, but you won a championship with JJ Redick and went to the state finals the next year. And then, especially after the split with Hidden Valley High School, there were some down years.
Absolutely.
But you've won 2 championships in recent years with big man Josh Henderson around. But so basketball has had its ups and downs too. What keeps you motivated?
Well, I think the challenge, the challenge of being able to motivate kids and get them to believe in themselves and to believe in the cause. That's, I think, always been one of my strengths as a coach is getting kids to play together and play hard. But certainly there's ups and downs, and that copies real life too. Everything is cyclical like that. Especially, I heard Bobby Knight speak one time at a clinic, and he said, coaching high school basketball is the purest form of coaching that there is if you're at a public school, because you take what the neighborhood gives you year in, year out, and you do the best that you can do with it. You can't recruit so when people say, well, what's your, what type of coach are you? You fast break, or you slow, or you whatever, you zone, or you man to man? It's whatever the neighborhood has given us that year. We have to
adapt
mold
to the team, yeah.
Exactly. So that's that's the biggest challenge, is taking a group of guys each year that's different and being able to mold them into a team and to get them to do the things that you think are important.
We were talking off the air about some changes in high school rules where you can have practices now, voluntary practices, I guess, more year-round instead of in a set period. And you were mentioning that really since the time you played, Billy, that basketball has really changed as far as these kids can really play year-round if they want to, just about, AAU and whatever. And how has that changed how you've had to coach? Are you getting better players when you coach, or are you having to change the way they're taught? Or
the common misconception is that these kids are playing year-round, so you are getting better players. But the players that I had in the early 90s, up through 2000, 2003 or 4, were much more fundamentally sound than the players you get today from the start. When I start working with them, mainly as 9th graders, they're not as fundamentally sound now because they are playing more games. My 3rd son, who's 12 years old, his AAU team last year played 72 games. It was unbelievable, but you don't get fundamentally better playing games. You get fundamentally better practicing. When I played, it was November to whenever your season ended. We'd have some open gyms in the fall, a couple in the spring. The rest of the time, you were out playing. You were out working on your skills, playing at the park, doing drills, whatever it was that, whatever your goals were. And I think now the kids get caught into, some of them are on 2 or 3 different travel teams, or they feel the pressure to play year-round. It changes what we do because I have to temper what I'm doing. I don't want these kids to get burned out. I used to hate that term, saying how could a 16, 17-year-old kid get burned out? But when you're playing that many games year round, I always want the 20 or 25 high school games that they play to be the 20 or 25 biggest games that they play into the year. You take a kid that's going to play in 100 AAU games, sometimes they have trouble getting up for a game or whatever. So I think the fundamental erosion of skills has been the #1 thing that we see. So going back to your original question of 2 days, you know, we get to practice 2 days a week. Our region, Region 4, voted to limit us to 2 days a week of practice. So I've spent that entire time working on skills. You know, in a normal practice during the season, we would do 2/3 skill work, 1/3 teamwork. We're doing 90% skill work right now. And we still have football players that are involved in football that aren't there, so we don't want them to get behind from a team standpoint. We're just working on individual skills because that's where the need is.
Talk about your coaches, Billy, when you played at Cave Spring and then at Roanoke College, who they were and how they helped mold you.
Well, you know, probably the most influential person in my playing days and probably my coaching was my middle school coach, Ed Peterson, who coached at Hidden Valley Middle School and later coached for a couple years at Cave Spring. And he came into my life when I was in 8th grade. He was a young first-year teacher and coach, and my parents had been through a divorce, and he was a real positive, real male role model for me. So he and I remained close throughout. My 2 high school coaches, Rudy Lacey was a legend, coached 26 years, played at Duke. And
you coached his grandson? Was it or his son?
I coached his cousin, I guess his great nephews.
Okay.
Tyler Lumsden, Clay Lacey, now we have Ben Lacey.
Okay.
So it's been a long line of Lacey's there at the Cave Spring team. And then Garland Berry was the coach my senior year, who was a great X's and O's guy and stepped in when Coach Lacey retired. And I really enjoyed playing for him my senior year. He went with me to Roanoke, and I played for Ed Green at Roanoke, who at the time when I went to Roanoke was the all-time winningest Division III coach in the history, and had an unbelievable winning percentage, was a great recruiter. And I never played that much at Roanoke, but I learned a lot being in those.
Take a lot of mental notes from Ed?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Your most famous player is J.J. Redick. J.J., of course, won a championship with you. I was on the floor at the Vine Center at Liberty when he was hugging and crying you, and a senior. Went on to star at Duke, was College Player of the Year, and now is a solid pro with Orlando. When you laid eyes on J.J. Redick back when he was 12 years old or something, did you know he was special? And if so, why?
Well, part of the reason that I thought he could be special is how much he loved the game. And he had an unbelievable drive. I mean, just like I've never seen before in my life. So I probably saw him play for the first time when he was in 7th grade, and I thought, wow, this kid has a chance to be really good. As an 8th grader, we moved him up, and he was the leading scorer on our JV team as an 8th grader until he broke his wrist. And so as a 9th grader, he made the varsity, and we had some other really good players. We had a senior, Jess Seaman, that went on and played at Radford, and had some good players. Tyler Lumsden was a sophomore. So I knew he was going to be really good, and I thought at that point, okay, this is a Division I player. But I didn't know whether he was Big South or ACC. Probably until about the end of his freshman year, he really expanded his game and had some incredibly great games in big venues against good teams. So I thought, okay, he's got a good chance. Then he got on with Boo Williams' AAU team in the summer, played with them, and got some national exposure, and things just exploded from there.
Does it blow your mind, though, what happened to J.J.? I mean, wound up at Duke. I remember being at the senior game where Mike Krzyzewski came down to the Cave Spring gym, and now he's making $6 million a year with Orlando. Yeah. Does it kind of blow your mind? Does it seem surreal in a way, or can you see how the logical progression of J.J. getting where he is?
Anything that J.J.'s accomplished at all the levels he's been at has never surprised me. And when he went to the McDonald's All-American game his senior year in high school, and we were up in New York City for the game, and Amari Stoudemire, a lot of great high school players were there. J.J. came in and was MVP. He had like 29 points and hit 7 threes, and John Wooden sitting courtside and had some great things to say about him. And I can remember looking at Ken Reddick going, he's going to have a great career at Duke. And Coach K told me when he was recruiting J.J., he said he's not going to be good at Duke. He's going to be great at Duke. And he knew that from the time he started recruiting him. So you know, watching his career at Duke, I mean, especially the last 2 years. I mean, he was the face of college basketball.
Sure.
Every night he had a unbelievably athletic guy guarding him, and he was putting up just unreal numbers. To leave Duke as the all-time leading scorer in the history of the ACC until Tyler Hansbrough broke it a couple years ago. It was just incredible. What he's been able to do at the NBA is a testament to his work ethic, because he's not an NBA body. He's not an NBA
He's really changed
athlete.
his body quite a bit.
He really has. And what he's done is he's just determined, I'm going to outwork everybody. His work ethic and his drive has never ceased to amaze me. A lot of people say, oh gosh, he's so gifted. And yes, he has some things that God gave him that he didn't give the rest of us. But most of what he has, he's gotten because he was willing to roll up his sleeves and go to work.
Josh Henderson, another big man. You won 2 championships with him in recent years. Now he's at Vanderbilt, I believe. Another special player?
Absolutely, and more of a special kid. Not a kid anymore, a young man. Just you know, a great heart. He's one of those kids you wouldn't mind your daughter being married to, because you know he's going to always treat her the right way. Got a lot of respect for Josh and his family, and you know, Josh has pro potential. Josh could end up getting paid to play basketball.
Sure.
I think that this year is going to be pivotal for him. He's a redshirt freshman. He's got the opportunity to play a lot in the SEC. He's bulked his body up, changed it a lot, and he really loves Vanderbilt. I think it was a great choice for him.
After all this time, 16th season, you still have that fire in your belly for this?
Yeah, probably more so. You know, coming off a little bit of a down season last year, probably the toughest season in our history, in my coaching career, for a lot of different reasons. Couldn't be more excited to get started this year, and no matter what's going on during the day, the thing I look most forward to is getting out there on the floor with the guys for practice.
Sounds good. Billy Hicks, coach of Cave Spring High School, the boys basketball team. Thanks for joining us.
Gene, thank you very much.
This is The Interview. I'm Gene Marrano. We'll be right back.